without answering. Scanning your body once more, being sure that you have not picked up any of the tension that we released. Starting at the crown of your head, checking between your eyebrows, relaxing in your jaws, feeling your teeth mildly separated, feeling the relaxation down the back of your neck, and feeling your shoulders relaxing even more away from your ears. Feeling the weight of your arms pulling down through your elbows and resting on your forearms or your hands. Feeling settled in your seat, grounded on the place where you make contact with your seat as well as the floor. Continuing to exchange your thoughts for the focus on sensations. We'll take the next few breaths with me being silent and you tuned in to the rhythm of the heartbeat, to the rhythm of your breath. And now feeling a bit more settled, feeling a bit more relaxed, a bit more current and present to this moment and the sensation of the body. Let's take our attention to our fingers and toes as we prepare to bring ourselves back to this time and this space and this interaction. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and the toes and choosing whether to open your eyes now or over the next few moments. As we begin to open our eyes and get settled, if questions, comments, thoughts come to our mind, we'll begin to type them into our chat as we start our Q&A and commentary.
That was great, Kermit. Waiting on any questions from our attendees. I know as we were going through that, I was thinking, you know, how long should our meditation process take? Does the amount of time matter? Is one of my questions.
Okay, so here's our, I'm getting an echo. I'll just talk through it.
Okay.
So I chose 7 minutes just now because that kind of gets us introduced. But if we go with the Harvard research, so the Harvard research on meditation says that 15 minutes twice a day. And so for that, and the reason that they use those numbers, because those are the numbers they used in their test when they saw a 48% reduction in hypertension and heart disease. And they were the ones that, you know, made the point that there is no man-made pill that can do that. And so from the perspective of, so I did a TEDx talk a while back on meditation and brain waves. And so the brainwave state that you go into in meditation is when your brain begins to produce alpha waves. And the research says it usually takes about 15 minutes for the average meditator. I mean, when you are experienced meditator, you can do it more quickly. But the average person working into meditation, it takes 15 minutes for the betas to slow down, for your waves, for you to begin to slow down your mind. And then, you know, you begin to be in kind of a literal different state of mind. And that takes about 15 minutes. And people, you can stop there or consider that the beginning. That's when you've settled and your mind has settled and you begin to work in your awareness. Okay, so I see a question about the legs crossed or uncrossed. So there are different traditions in meditation, and there are some traditions On one extreme that say overcoming physical pain is a part of the process of mental liberation or what have you. And then on another extreme, there is the way that you posture your body has nothing to do with the, the way that your mind is going to work. So we imagine that, somewhere in between there, we would like to be attentive, aware of what we're doing. However, if we are comfortable with our legs crossed, then cross them. If we're not comfortable with our legs crossed, then don't cross them, because then we'll just be thinking about that. And how do you know? Well, if you sit on the floor and you cross your legs and your knees are up much higher than your pelvis, that means it's not going to be comfortable for you. And you'll most likely sit on a pillow or a block to raise your pelvis, and then the knees will come down a bit. All right, I'll try to answer.
Add to Chrome button, then click Add Extension to continue.
Sorry about that.
Carlton.
Yeah.
You wanted to share some books?
I'm getting ready to age myself here.
That's okay.
All right. Okay. Well, when I was 15, that was a long time ago, my sister introduced me. I've studied martial arts for a solid 20 years. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So have you ever heard of The Science of Breath by Yogi Ramacharaka?
Not that particular yogi, but definitely I too was a martial artist. I competed for many years. And so I'm definitely aware of breath techniques from that perspective, not that particular author though.
Okay. As an example, I had a fracture in my arm, and also in my rib once upon a time. And as a matter of fact, when I was working for the United Parcel Service, I was around 20 years old. I went up to the top floor of the corporate building in New York City, and it was all of these Eastern doctors from Asia. And they showed me these breathing exercises, and that was just another pathway that I took to actually heal.
Okay. So,
and also at the VA, I'm a veteran, same thing. The breathing to heal, it's about the lungs and also about healing the rib cage for that particular accident. So I wouldn't have a problem if it's okay. I looked these up and I've got the links, and if it's okay, I'll post them.
Oh, certainly. Put them in the chat. That would be great.
I wanted to ask first, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that. And I don't need to comment any further at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Carlton. I was looking over here to see if I see any other questions.
I just posted that TEDx I just referenced.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Kermit. So when I started to think about meditation, and I don't know, maybe I've read some things. Does it have to always be, do you have to have silence around you? Can you have music playing? Is there a best practice for that either?
All right, so two different perspectives.
Okay, Vincent and I are on the same page.
Right.
Vincent is asking, should we use music?
All right, so here, let me tell you what I think you're thinking,
Okay.
and I'll tell you what we're preparing for. How about that? So, okay, thank you. So the thing about it is, part of the difficulty is our ego trying to convince our deeper consciousness that it is in control or is the truth of ourselves. And so the idea is your ego is the one that doesn't want to sit still. The ego is the one that doesn't think you can sit still to meditate. The ego is the one that says, yeah, you probably need to do that, but I can't really even will steer you clear of it and tell you that it's going to be scary, worrisome, and you need something else. Ego talk. So quite often when some folks are when some folks are using music, they're actually using it to try to feel that worried, nervous space about being alone with themselves in that thought for themselves. So the way I tend to think about that is, imagine a snow globe shaking up. And then for some people, I think the music allows the snow globe to continue. And part of what has to happen is the stillness, and we have to let it all settle. And that process is a definite patient kind of a sitting. And so being alone with our thoughts, a lot of times the music continues to take us out in that way, where we're not actually settling our snow globe. So it depends on what we're doing with the music. Now, eventually, and the idea is that when you are a seasoned meditator, whatever that is, that you can be on a busy subway in New York and sit still and go into yourself with anything going on around you, with people playing music or people shouting or that kind of thing. But I think that just kind of splitting out, do we need music to assist us in meditation? And that's what I'm saying. I know that a lot of people use, like I use sometimes singing bowls, or some people use binaural beats, but I was just cautioning that we think we need to lean on music, because what I'm suggesting is that desire for music is a desire to actually hold off the meditation, to just be present and centered with yourself, and not setting that soundtrack. Now, I said all that, so I said a lot. So I guess part of that is me saying, maybe be silent. Music is okay, potentially in certain circumstances, and that we're trying to work to a place where it doesn't matter what's playing around us, we can still center ourselves.
Gotcha. Okay. So my takeaways are: let my gut hang out, but sit up straight.
Yes.
Maybe use music, but start off not using music, and I'll grow to get there.
Yes. Use those two. The music is the two rhythms of your heartbeat and your breath. That's
okay. Awesome.
That's the music of gratitude. Thankful for my breath and thankful for my beating heart.
Yes. Renee says, how often do you recommend that we meditate?
Okay, so daily is good to be sure. And so in the win, usually as a part of the morning routine. And then so research suggests that ideal would be twice a day, morning and evening, 15 minutes. That's like the ideal. Now, is it okay if you end up doing it 3 times a week at random times? Yes, because meditation is one of those things where, granted, it's good to have a practice, but each time, each journey has its own benefit, has its own good, and resting that internal hypertension or what have you is important whenever we do it. It's great to do it on regular schedule. Do it on regular schedule. It's still good to make it happen.
Great. Oh, great. Thank you, Carlton, for posting that.
So let me answer this one I just saw come up about the hardest time stopping your mind. So from constantly running. So in the vernacular, we call that the monkey mind. So listen, every single Homo sapien will have that problem. Okay, so if you are one of our species, then you will have a difficult time controlling the mind ego. So here's the idea. So there's a conversation about this in the literature where, Arjuna, who's trying to learn how to do this meditating thing, is asking this guy, teacher, he says, it's very difficult to control the mind. It's more difficult to control than the wind. And his guide says, you're right. That's how come you have to practice daily, breath by breath. And so the idea is this: if, imagine if you were a levitating monk of sorts, right? Then you might be able to be seasoned enough to shut your thoughts off. But for everybody else who's involved in this kind of a everyday life of, I don't want to call it the matrix, but this connection of job and family and involved in that kind of thing, that is the soundtrack of our internal mind, and getting that to quiet a bit is a practice. And so what we do, literally breath by breath, focusing on the individual feeling of the inhale, exhale, and so while that's happening, while we are focusing and having our awareness on the breath and the heartbeat, we're not racing in thought. And so when we find ourselves chasing the thought, then we return back to being aware of the sensation of breath. And that's literally the practice. That's why it's called a practice, because you're practicing bringing your awareness back to those rhythms and sensations of the body, and not to the racing of the thoughts, though they will race. So going back to our snow globe, eventually, years down the line, we can have everything settled. I'll be honest with you. I am able to reach that when I am in an ashram, meaning if I go to a place where I immerse and I stay there at the actual temple for like a month, then I'm able to do it because I've separated myself from the everyday connections of life that kind of make the fodder for our internal running. And so what the guru even said then is, listen, the ashram, yeah, we can, this is easy to do, easier at least, but out in your everyday life, it's very difficult. So,
Right.
so know that it's a tough thing, and that's why we practice it every day, breath by breath.
I think I don't see any additional questions, but I had one as you were talking about removing yourself from our everyday life. So we're all right now, you know, I'm not going to say stuck at home, but we all are at home. And it may be a little difficult to remove yourself from children and spouses or parents, significant others. In terms of where to go to meditate, in our homes, is it, do you need a quiet space? Excuse me. You know, can it be the bathtub?
I was just gonna say.
You know, I'm wondering if you can maybe give us a couple of tips on how you get yourself ready to meditate in this new world order that we have.
All right, so let's a couple ideas. So the bathroom is not a bad idea. The toilet's not a great idea just because it's circulation off in your legs, but if you take a chair in the bathroom and close the door, then that's a good idea.
Okay.
A lot of people have, you know, their prayer closets where you literally go into a closet to close. That's great. That's perfect stuff. Being able to take your body physically away and shut down so that you're not worried about people like messing with you while you're that's an important part for the peace of mind. So in a house that's full, the bathroom is definitely a good spot, depending on your closets. I mean, my closet you couldn't get into, but some people have closets that actually walk inside of. And then that's possible. Now, outside walks with breath, you know, keeping our social distance if that's possible. But if it's going to be in the house, waking up before everybody and, you know, being in the bedroom and being in a dark room, you know, on just a space on the floor, that's my, you know, that's a good time. For me, that's when I try to, right when the sun's starting to crack up, when everything is very still dark and quiet, and just kind of move to my space at that point. That's usually I can tell when I don't do that and set the day.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions before we say goodbye to Kermit? Samuel has a question. Samuel. Oh, we can't hear you. There you go.
Okay. What you were just talking about, what would be the difference between like meditation, sitting in a quiet place and you know, like doing that in your mind versus, like you said, like going on a walk or like watching an ASMR video or something like that? What would be the differences? Like, is one more focused on your mind versus one more focused on your body, and the benefits of each?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. So if let me go technical first and then experiential. So what they observed in brain and brainwave patterns is that when you are in a state of interacting with the environment, you're in a range that they call beta waves. And when you're in that meditative zone, it's alpha waves. Whenever you have to interact with the environment at a certain level of coming out of yourself, you're moving, your brain begins to produce more beta waves because you're having to interact outside of yourself in a certain kind of a way. When you are, you know, more self-isolated and doing the meditation where you're turning in and there are internal things you're attending to, at that point, you're able to slow it down and they expand. Your brain waves, they slow and expand. And they're imagining that that's the area where we get the most like healing benefit, the most internal body benefit. So, however, when you're doing the walking meditation, that is definitely beneficial in its own right. It has it. So part of what I like to think about is the isolated meditation is like the pure, prototype of the scene that we are practicing to take that stillness though and that calmness into our everyday lives anyway. And so part of the walking meditation is us practicing taking the calmness that we practice and work out in that deal, and then start trying to maintain that peace, if you would, while you're interacting in the external world, because that's the ultimate goal, to interact from that perspective or from that space. So Samuel, thank you very much for the question. I think both things are important, and I think that one thing doesn't substitute for the other. I think that both things are important stuff.
Marcia?
Yes, sir. Carlton.
This is like my third webinar, I believe. Second one with you, but the first one actually had to do, there was a segment that had to do with children. Okay, so this is a suggestion and a conversation I think that, so really needs to be, had, because as we are college level, I believe we all are, I don't know. But
Yes, sir.
Okay. So many of our teachers, my kids are gone and grown. So I just have to check on my boys now, grown men. So, but this dilemma that our professors and staff, faculty and staff, but the professors are home teaching, adjunct or full-time, okay?
Yes, sir.
And many of them have children. I know of one in particular that has 5 kids, but she's got a huge family support group. So I'm not really worried about her. So if we can, maybe we should ask the professors who are getting through this, that have solved the dilemma of being home with children, as well as having to teach classes throughout the week. What are their best practices for getting through this?
Okay.
And then so we can help the ones that are struggling and will be struggling possibly all the way through the summer.
Summer, right.
You see, and
Right.
I don't think I need to say anything else. Are you a mom?
I am not. It's just me.
Okay.
So my world order is very different from those with little people. Trust and believe.
I was hoping that I had tied into a professional.
No.
But I know that you know what I mean.
I do. And Eileen is on the call. She works for AFC with me, and certainly I've been watching Eileen and Charlie also on our staff deal with the everyday life of kids. On a couple of our Zoom calls just for our staff meetings, there was a child crawling in a window and another child crawled up in his mom's lap, and
right.
We all kind of chuckled about it, but doing these things day in and day out, it definitely requires figuring out how to make it happen while you're still supporting your family. So that's a really good suggestion, Carlton, and we will see what we can do to set something up about
God
it.
only knows how many single parents are out there,
right,
without the help of a significant other or a spouse.
Correct.
To take over during those. And I don't know if the classes that are running online are as long as the regular hour, 2 hours.
Sure.
Oh my God, so we need to try to get them some help. That's what I wanted. I wanted to interject right now.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Carlton, for that.
Absolutely.
I see Vincent says, warm water, what kind of teas would you recommend? Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm not a tea expert, so I don't want to say something, but me personally, in the morning scene, I just begin with hot water and lemon. These things have positive properties. Also, the pink Himalayan sea salt, sometimes a little pinch of pink Himalayan sea salt in the warm water. Teas have different concerns because you've got different caffeine concerns and non-caffeine concerns. And so I am a tea drinker. I know a lot of people swear by tea and a lot of people have problems with it. So I don't want to, I'll say that, you know, yes, the warm water is good. And warm water and lemon is good. For your digestion, it's like a superb thing. When you, before you eat, with your meal slightly after, it's really good to have warm, you know, beverages. Cold beverages, the way you can imagine it is if you have something that's greasy or whatever, and you pour cold water on it, that grease congeals into that hot. But if you warm, it keeps it moving and fluid and so forth. So your digestion that way, and your body systems, it helps to bring that the water, the hydration more quickly into your system because your system hasn't used any energy in cooling it down. Right, so good. Everybody share. One thing that I will caution about, the honey studies show that if you do add honey to your tea, don't do it while your tea is at its hottest, while it's steeping, because the long and short of it is the heat on honey turns it gummy, and it will gum up your arteries and your internals in a way that you don't want. And it's kind of like how, you know, if gas gets old and it gums up a line or whatever, it's like that.
Interesting.
So before and after. So the idea is when you wake up, you know, after you do, there are different routines. Some people go with tongue scraping to get the bacteria off, because, you know, your tongue, when you wake up in the morning, is the other end of your digestive tract. And so a lot of times of scraping, hot water, rinsing, and then beginning your water routine because that helps as you get ready to move into your breath and breathing practice for the morning meditation. Yeah, so the honey is cool and good to add, just not while it's at its hottest, because that's the recommendation from healthcare.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, we're going to bring this session to a close. Kermit, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I learned a lot from this session. I'm going to see if I can sit out on my little sunroom porch that has no furniture on it, and I'm regretting that during this work from home phase of my life. But it creates an opportunity for me as well, where I can sit out there, I can meditate. Hopefully I'm going to learn a little bit about doing some yoga here soon.
Yes. So everybody's going to be dressed for that one on Thursday and ready, because I'm going to go for that one.
Yes. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. This session will be recorded. We'll try and have it up later on this afternoon. The same place on our website. You'll be able to find the information. And hopefully you'll be joining us for some of our other webinars on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye-bye, everybody.